With us tonight is one of the most successful Twitch streamers, Hasan Piker. He's a left-wing political commentator, a self-prescribed propagandist who has tens of thousands of people right now watching his 10-hour-long broadcast on the situation in Gaza. In the past fortnight, I should say, he's raised from small donations over $1 million for the Palestinians. Hasan Piker, good evening.
Thank you for having me. I was privy to the conversation that you were having earlier, and I have a lot of thoughts on what was said, but also specifically on why the BBC is under fire for, in my opinion, engaging in objective news coverage for the first time in the conflict, in a situation where the fog of war presented facts coming from numerous different authorities. I believe that it is perfectly valid and understandable to make the reasonable assessment and reasonable assumption that the al-Ahli hospital was bombed from either an Israeli airstrike, or new information coming from forensic architecture shows that it could have possibly been an artillery strike as well. This is just developing at this moment. And I think that covering it, considering that the al-Ahli hospital had previously been bombed by Israel 2 days prior, or 3 days prior, on Saturday, bombed by Israel, where the cancer ward was damaged, where 4 hospital staff were wounded, and that the hospital staff themselves had said that the Israeli authorities had routinely been in contact with them, telling them to evacuate. And this evacuation order, of course, has been given to numerous hospitals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Hasan, I don't want to relitigate what happened on Tuesday night. Or suffice to say that BBC Verify have done they've done a deep dive into what happened, and people can go and read what BBC Verify have uncovered. And I think it's a fair assumption of what is in the public domain. But obviously, neither side on this argument is going to be satisfied until there's an independent investigation, and it's not something we're likely to get. So none of us can really assess what happened or who was to blame. What I want to get to is why your Twitch account, why your broadcasts each evening are so popular. What is it that your audience gets from you that it perhaps doesn't get from me? Because you get more people watching you of an evening than I do.
I think that one of the reasons why my broadcast, I guess, is relatively popular is because younger people are looking for alternative media outlets that offer a level of consistency and analysis from all sides of any given conflict, any given real-time situation. Cutting through the fog of war is obviously a very difficult thing to do, especially when the electricity and power and internet is shut off in the Gaza Strip. But we make do here, and I think that's part of the reason I have a lot of on-the-ground reporters that I trust. I have a lot of reporters that I trust in America and also in Israel, alongside on the Palestinian side, that I take from when I'm engaging in this kind of coverage. And I think there's a more personal component to it as well. But last but not least, I guess the main difference here is that my perspective, which I'm very open about, is biased. I believe in the emancipation of Palestinians. I believe that they have a right to return. I believe that there should be a single, solitary, secular nation state where Palestinians and Israelis have equal rights. I believe in punishing the war criminals, not just on the Palestinian side as well, who have done ruthless and brutal attacks against civilian populations, but also on the Israeli side as well, with the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. These are things that I believe, and I am.
So do you think you reflect? I mean, you say you're a self-prescribed propagandist. You say you have bias in a Palestinian direction. Is there a danger that people?
No, not bias in a Palestinian direction. I have bias
towards a particular view on the conflict.
In a particular view on the conflict, but against all people that are subjugated, all people that are under fire. There is no difference from my perspective between an Israeli child and a Palestinian child. And I believe that, unfortunately, due to the way that we have manufactured consent for decades over the war on terror, most people in the Western world, whether they recognize it or not, do not cover the victims of a larger state power, especially when they're Arab, especially when they're Muslim, like they're full human beings. They're just enemy combatants. They're usually seen as enemy combatants. And I think that the water gets muddied in this regard. And I think it plays into what the IDF likes to propagandize is the fact that they're the most moral army. And that we're having this conversation in the eve of more than 3,400 Palestinians being murdered by the IDF in an ongoing campaign. The defense minister has openly said we're fighting human animals. That's why we have to cut their food, their water, and their electricity. These are all war crimes. These are war crimes when Russia does it. These are war crimes when Israel does it. And yet, for some reason, we consistently muddy the waters and say there are enemy combatants, and then there are civilians, and they're just, collateral damage.
Hasan, I'm pressed for time. I've only got about 1:40 left. But one of the things that worries me, and it sort of relates to how I come under attack on this programme, is just how quickly, after the events of the last 2 weeks, how polarising the debate becomes, how everybody seems incapable of seeing the other's perspective or point of view when it comes to this issue. Why is that?
I think it's polarising because people, like I said, do not see the humanity of those who are under colonial subjugation. These are ever since the Nakba, Palestinians have not been able to return back to their homes, 700,000 originally in 1948. And there has been a brutal occupation that the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International now correctly consider to be an apartheid state. This is, of course, I would say, 20 years after Nelson Mandela had considered Israel to be an apartheid state. And I feel like he knows a thing or two about apartheid states in general. And it's not necessarily a polarizing subject. It's just that there are right-wing forces inside of Israel that are utilizing this, the conflict as a means to continue getting more land grabs and continue the brutal occupation in the West Bank as well, which is completely unjustifiable and illegal by international law.
Yeah.
But it's not polarizing.
Hasan, I'll have to cut it there because we're about to go to a break, but it's been lovely to talk to you. Congratulations on the success of your programming. Good to get your perspective as well this evening. Let me just show you the picture of the State Department, which we're watching closely. For an update on those hostages, we'll bring you that shortly. Stay with us.